Welcome to the Embodied Self podcast, a place for you to discover, explore, and embrace your truest expression. I'm your host, Ashley Perl, and I believe wholeheartedly that the path to your most meaningful, joyful, and vibrant life is through becoming who you truly are. Join me as I share personal stories and have soul-expanding conversations alongside incredible humans just like you, with the intention to inspire your journey of personal exploration. We'll cover topics of self-development, wellness, spirituality, and so much more. And better yet, we'll share tangible tools and practices to support your most aligned life. So together, let's dive in and see what magic awaits on the other side of your most embodied self. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Embodied Self podcast. I am your host, Ashley Perl. This is a show where I share personal stories, learnings, tools, practices to support your growth, your self-development, your awakening, your self-discovery. It is a place where I also interview others and share their stories and learnings and magic with the intention that you discover something new about yourself, with the intention that you can integrate this knowledge and these practices. Oh, we're going to be sharing so much on this show in the upcoming episodes. I'm so excited. And if you have not yet shared this podcast with a friend or posted it to your social media or checked out the show notes where I share all of the ways that you can help support the podcast, and they're all free, and it would mean so much to me if you would choose one, just one, whatever's feeling good to you. That would really mean so much. I have had such a great time putting these episodes together and interviewing people, having conversations with people. It has been such a magical experience already, and I am just excited for these messages to reach the ears of whoever is meant to hear them. So let's get into today's episode. This will be my third time recording this episode. Yes, third. Actually, maybe fourth or fifth, but third time actually doing it full through and having it not work. And I don't know about any of you, but lately I have been really getting tested by the universe, it feels. I am someone who has always seen everything in life as a message, something to learn from, even since I was little. And the message that I've been receiving is, it's like a test. It's like, how calm can you stay through everything that's happening in your external environment? I've been really practicing equanimity. And I don't know if you know what that means. I personally would love to do actually a full episode on this, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but equanimity is holding calmness and composure and, even temper in any situation. And this is what I've been tested with. It's like I set that intention, and then the universe or spirit or God's like, okay, let's see how calm you can stay through anything, through extremely loud neighbors on every side of you when you're trying to work or record a podcast episode, or trying to sleep, or whatever, just trying to live. Can you keep calm through your internet going out right before really big presentations, right before you're about to meet with a client? Can you keep calm through your car getting towed? Through recording this episode many times. And I have to say that it's been a really humbling experience, because I get to just remember that all I have control over in this life is myself and my energy. And I believe that it is our jobs to just feel good, to stay in that good energy, because when we're not feeling that way, and not to say you have to feel good all the time, you definitely should feel all of your feelings, the broad range of emotions that we experience in life, but don't get stuck there. And remember to come back to your natural state, which is joy and which is presence and which is love. So that's what's been going on in my world. The first time I tried to record this episode, I was actually walking outside on one of my presence walks. It's like something that I need to do daily. I just love to walk and just really take in my environment. So the birds chirping, the color of the leaves or the snow, the way the sunshine feels on my skin. And it definitely must have not been meant to be, because it was way, way, way too loud to hear anything. So we're back here to share this message for today, which was coming through so clearly on the walk. That's usually when I start to receive downloads and inspiration. And I'm, I don't love to be on my phone when I'm in a presence walk, but if something's coming through, then hit record, baby. So this message, what we're here to talk about today, is going to be really supportive, I think, to everyone. I think that all of us can maybe resonate with this one, but it's going to be really supportive for those of you out there who feel like you are responsible for saving or fixing other people. Maybe you feel like you have to be there for everyone, for everyone's problems, for everyone to lean on. Maybe you feel responsible to make other people happy. And as I share more about this, and as you listen to the episode, it's going to be really clear whether you fall into this category or not. If you're part of this community, it's likely that you will resonate with this. And if not, that's beautiful and perfect too. But I'll share some questions to get your wheels turning, to allow you to get a little curious about how maybe this is showing up in your life. And I received some messages that some of you really liked this in the first, I think it was the first or second episode. I gave some questions, and so we're going to do it again. And after we talk about ways this can show up in your life, we're going to go into actual tangible tools that you can use to support you if you are noticing these patterns showing up in your life. So the pattern of feeling like it's your job to save or fix everyone, or overextending yourself to friends and family and noticing that maybe you're depleted afterwards. We'll get more into it, but here are some questions just to get your wheels turning. And remember, we get to look at our lives and look at ourselves with some distance, and with compassion and kindness. And we're just getting curious here, okay? All right, so question number 1. Growing up, did you feel like it was your responsibility to make everyone happy? So maybe your parents or your siblings or your friends. Growing up, did you feel like it was your responsibility to make everyone happy? And next, did you feel like it was your responsibility to hear and be a soundboard for everybody's problems? Next question, have you always been the person that people turn to for advice? Are you always the one offering advice or giving advice? Or maybe you feel like you just know what would be best for other people and you want to share that with them. Which leads into the next one. Do you offer advice to people without them even asking for it? And this next one is really interesting. I didn't realize I did this next one until I realized it, and I was like, oh my goodness. When someone tells you about an issue that they're having, do you think about it long after your initial interaction is over? So are you thinking about it? Are you thinking about ways to solve it? Are you Googling things, Googling solutions, thinking about solutions? Does it stick with you in your body? Like do you feel it in your body? You can't get your mind off of it, and you just, it's like your vision narrows, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's experiencing this. I need to help. And do you continue to check on it? Reach out to this person or reach out to someone about a certain situation. And then the last question here, do you ever feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Or the weight of your family, the weight of the company you work for? Do you feel like that is ever on your shoulders? So these are the questions, and I could honestly go on and on with these, but these are the ones that I feel like really help one self-identify. So just notice which ones you may identify with as we continue on here. On to what the big message is for today. What is the main message that I am hoping you walk away with? And that is that it's not your job and it's not your responsibility to fix or to save anyone. And I'll say it louder for the people in the back if you can't hear me. It is not your job. It is not your responsibility to fix or to save anyone. And I could be wrong about this, but I have a feeling that those of you who might be nodding your heads right now, or maybe you're wide-eyed realizing, whoa, this has been me all this time. You also might identify as sensitive or an empathic individual. Maybe you've been told you're too sensitive or have really intense experiences of your emotionality, perhaps. Because here's my hypothesis around this. I believe that if you experience deep empathy on levels that others simply do not, and what I mean by that is if you're empathic, highly sensitive people actually have different, not neurotransmitters, what's the word? Maybe neuroreceptors, maybe it is. I'll have to do another episode on this where I get into the scientific details, but you take in the world differently. So you feel things more intensely because of your makeup, your literal like biology and makeup. I know I resonate with this a ton, and I definitely feel things extremely, extremely intensely, and other people just don't. And I always felt really different because of that growing up, but it is such a superpower, and we are absolutely going to get into that in this show. But I digress a little bit. So if you experience empathy on a level that others don't, if you feel emotions more deeply, more intensely, if it sticks with you in your body, if your mind becomes hyper-focused on something, if you are very hyper-aware of the emotionality of the people around you, because you can feel suffering and pain, because you have such big hearts, you want to do everything in your power to help people, to help others feel less pain, to lessen the burden of others and relieve people from that, what you feel like is emotional distress, perhaps. That's my hypothesis, why people who are very sensitive tend to take on this role of the savior, of the martyr, of the person who has to fix and always be there for everyone. Because, yeah, maybe you can, maybe you do have answers that can help support people, but again, it's not your job. And I'd invite you now to get curious of ways in which this might show up in your life. I can think of so many ways that this has shown up in my life, and even when I think I've stopped resorting to this pattern, it just comes up and shows up again in different areas. And, it's likely that if this has shown up for you, maybe it was modeled to you by a caregiver or a parent, or maybe not. There's so many different ways in which this can show up and why. And I've shared this before on the show, but we as humans have really good reasons for doing what we do in life. We develop behaviors, we develop patterns, we are meaning and habit-making machines. And so as you look at your life, again, please do so with compassion for yourself, and know that I'm sharing this because I want to bring awareness to ways in which this behavior, though it may seem really pure and genuine and loving, it can actually be harming both you and the other parties involved. It can be not as supportive as you think that it's being. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about why it's important not to always try to save someone, not to try to fix everyone's problems, why you don't need to be this savior, and how you can actually help people more by not playing this role. And I'll admit, you guys, this is something that is really, really alive and active for me right now. I've already done a lot of healing around this, especially in the ways that I engage with my family and my friends. And yet it is showing up in full force again in another area of my life. It's been showing up at work. And so I'm sharing this with you as I'm literally exploring it on my own and working through it as I literally create this episode, because the learnings have been so profound, and I just want everyone to have the chance to reflect on this in their own lives, truly. So these parts of ourselves, like I said, I thought I've healed this. I thought that this part's like not going to show up anymore. But something to know about healing parts of ourselves is that they don't ever fully go away. It's not like you heal something and then it's gone forever. They are embedded within our systems, within our cells. They can show up and rear their heads again and get really, really loud if you're not taking care of your own needs in other ways. And so it's kind of like this red flag that's like, yo, hey, look at me, you're doing this again. What's going on? Where are you not taking care of yourself? Why is this happening again? If that doesn't make sense yet, that's totally fine, because parts is a really big part of the coaching that I do. It's rooted in internal family systems, if you've heard of that. And if not, it's just a really beautiful system that helps people understand how to integrate all the parts of themselves and heal elements of their experiences through navigating all the different parts. I'll use that word again, but we'll talk about that in a future episode. So let's go into, actually, I'll share how this is showing up in my life right now. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to do that, but yeah, I'll share how this is showing up at work. So I recently shifted roles at work. I had essentially two roles, and now I was given the choice to choose one or the other, and I chose this one so that I could do one role really well versus being spread really thin. And I was realizing that I was continuing to fill the gaps of the other role that I recently gave up. And so I kind of think of it as like, I think the word is, it's like when you're fixing a house and there's like air coming in because there's a seal, or it's not sealed, there's like a gap in the window and there's air coming in, and you have to go in and fill it with, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, and if not, permission to laugh at me, but caulk. You have to go and caulk everything. And I felt like I was just running around the company, like filling the gap here, noticing something that was potentially going to go wrong and trying to prevent it by filling the gaps. And no one asked me to do that. I just took it upon myself to do it. And it also felt natural for me because, again, I'd been playing this role for about 6 months or so. And I was trying to prevent potential problems. I was trying to lessen the burden of other people within the company. I was trying to prevent any accidents, essentially, that would create uneasiness in the organization, in the clients that we serve. And I was kind of assuming the role of the savior in many ways. And did I help? Did I help prevent some uh-ohs in the company? Absolutely. But was it my job or my responsibility to do that? No. And because I was sealing things up before they could be recognized as gaps or issues, I was essentially preventing the company from actually seeing where there might be room for improvement. And who am I to do that, to take away that opportunity, right? Because here's the deal. When you take on this role as the fixer, when you try to lessen other people's burdens, when you immediately offer advice, when you immediately go in and caulk all the open seals and gaps, you take away the opportunity for the person or people involved to figure things out on their own, to ask for help, to notice where there's room for growth. And this is perhaps the most important piece of it. You take away the opportunity for people to really feel empowered in their experience and in their choices, especially when it comes to, offering advice, or I see this a lot in like one-to-one relationships. There could be a life lesson that someone is really meant to be learning on their own. They could be really needing to strengthen their own inner trust muscle within themselves. But because you're coming in to save the day every time, they're not getting the opportunity to strengthen their trust within themselves. They're not getting the opportunity to feel empowered and to make an empowered decision. Because you're there showing up with the cape every time to save the day. And something that can happen in relationships or in friendships is this distorted situation where someone begins to rely on you. They begin to see you as their trust muscle. They come to you for advice every time, and thus create the belief within themselves that they don't have any of the answers that you do. And in always showing up and always giving answers, even if you have them, even if you have something that might be supportive, you essentially contribute to this distorted relationship that trains people to believe that they do not have the answers within themselves. And what a disempowering place to be, right? What a disempowering place to be. And not only can this harm, and I don't know what other word to use, harm feels really, really intense, but we're going to continue to use it for lack of a better word, but it not only can harm the other person or take away a really important experience from them, but it can also really not be so supportive to you either. You can get really distracted helping other people, so much so that you actually aren't helping yourself. This is actually a really sneaky avoidance pattern that is so freaking sneaky, you guys. This one used to show up for me a lot. You can spend so much time thinking about other people's issues, trying to help other people, trying to solve problems for other people, that you distract from your own problems. It's like really, really clever avoidance tactic there. I'm curious if any of you have experienced this one because I see it so much. Let me know if you do. I'd be curious. But you can also, again, create this distorted, unhealthy experience where, you can create a distorted or unhealthy experience where you're resourcing your sense of purpose and love from helping others. So this isn't necessarily like I'm a doctor and I help people. I'm talking about if you only feel good about yourself, if you only feel worthy, if you are being of service to others, if you are helping other people, if you are always showing up to save the day, then that's something that gets to be looked at, right? That's something that gets to be looked at because you're not always going to have those opportunities around you to show up and save the day. How can you feel worthy and perfect and just worthy as you are without having to do anything for that? So these are just some of the ways that it can also not be supportive to you. And also, if you're just walking around thinking that you have all the answers, that you have all the answers, then you get to look at that. I think that anyone who is empowered knows that there is that it's so important to figure things out on your own. I always say empowered people empower people. Empowered people empower people. Empowered people don't walk around, running around, acting like, hey, I have all the answers. Come to me. I figured it out. And if you come across someone like that, because I do know that there are coaches and healers and gurus who might be coming across as that, right? Run in the other direction. Run very far away in the other direction, because you don't want someone who's going to sit there and tell you that they have all the answers and they have everything that you need to be helped. No. You want someone who's going to help you find the answers within yourself. So I'm so passionate about the coaching that I do. I'm so passionate about coaching that is actually empowering and inviting people back into their own bodies, back into their own wisdom. I recently actually at work went through this process of hiring. I was hiring other coaches to mentor within this coaching certification program. It's a 10-month trauma-informed coaching certification program that I truly believe it is just the number one program that's out there. And I might be a little bit biased, but I've also seen what else is out there. But anywho, it was so clear to see the coaches as part of the interview process. I should explain this. They had to coach me for 10 minutes or 5 minutes even. You know, it's pretty easy to see within the first few minutes if they're going to take the approach of, hey, I have all the answers, let me just give you advice, or I'm going to let you guide as the client. I'm going to coach you, but in a way that empowers you to find answers within yourself. It's very clear, very quickly. So it was very clear who I used the same prompt for every single person. I forgot what it was, but I used the same problem that I was coming to each person with, and it was very clear who was getting curious, asking me questions about the problem, asking me what I've explored already, where it exists in my body, helping me come up with the answers on my own through really agendaless curiosity questions. And then it was really clear to see what people quickly were like, oh, that's your problem? Oh, yeah, I would just do this, or I've experienced this, you should try that. Very, very clear. And it's so important to empower one another, to remember that we all have the answers within ourselves. All right. So, with all that being said, and with this idea that it's not your job to save everyone or fix everything, I want to share just some tools, some things that you can do instead. And I think that these are really, really going to be supportive, and I'd love to know. So this first one is actually just like a mindset or an approach that you can take. So remembering that even though in the moment it might feel like you want to help someone and it's coming from a good place, let's say you know someone who's really struggling with money and you're constantly giving them money because it's something that you can do. You're constantly giving and giving and giving. Of course, that's coming from a beautiful and pure place, right? But I invite you to think about what would ultimately be most supportive in the long run for this person. Is it always being there? Is it enabling them? Is it, maybe caulking that little gap now only for something bigger to burst later? It's like that saying when you teach him, keep giving, like give a man a fish and he'll have food for a day, but teach a man to fish and he'll have food for a lifetime. If you're constantly giving the person the fish, is that really supportive for them in the long run? And then number 2, this is something that can just support you. It's also like an approach or a mindset to help you when you feel like you should be helping people, but you aren't. Maybe you're starting to feel guilty because you're like, oh, I have these answers, or I have money, I could give them. Maybe it feels really uncomfortable at times to feel like you could support someone, but you're not, because trust me, it can feel really, really, uncomfortable. But that's about you. That discomfort's about you, right? That discomfort is something that you get to sit with and work on. It's not something that you should just continue to diffuse within yourself by helping someone else. So yeah, that's a big one to get real curious about. But instead of worrying about the person, instead of just trying to fix their problems, instead of just trying to, whatever it is, remember that your energy and your thoughts are actually so powerful. I would say even more powerful than the actions that you want to take to help fix the situation. Sending them love, imagining that they're succeeding, imagining that they're healthy. Let's say if they're having health issues and you're trying to fix it by giving them all these things to do and eat this and don't do that and have this medicine, don't go to this doctor. It's coming from a good place, but remember, it's not your job or role to do that. So just use your thoughts and use the energy, emit love from your body. Imagine them healthy, or imagine them succeeding. Imagine them overcoming addiction. Imagine them getting the job that they've been trying so hard to find. You know, maybe they've been interviewing like crazy and you're trying to step in and help and fix and connect them with people. Beautiful. And allow them the opportunity to figure it out on their own. Whatever it is, remember that your energy is more powerful than any action that you can do. So if you're constantly worrying about them, and if you're constantly thinking about how awful their situation is, let's say, that is not supportive. That is not supportive. So don't fall into the trap of worrying. Yeah, don't fall into the trap of worrying. All right, the next one, number 3, is these are now some like actionable steps. So this one will be helpful if there's people who are constantly coming to you for advice, maybe a friend or a partner or a parent. Invite them back into their power. If someone comes to you for advice, maybe they always come to you for advice, you don't always have to give the answer that's coming to you. You can invite them back into their own bodies, back into their own minds. Ask them curiosity questions that brings the focus back to their experience and their inner wisdom. So a question you could ask if, let's say someone comes to you and they are, let's say they have like 3 job offers and they come to you, they're like, well, which one would you do? I don't know. Which one would you do? You don't have to tell them, even if you might know. You can invite them back into their inner wisdom. Say, well, I'm sure you might have thought about this already, at least a little bit. Which one do you feel like you should take? Which one, when you think about it, does your body light up at? Or which one are you wanting to do, but maybe negotiating in your mind because maybe it's not as much money as another one, but it actually feels like work that you'd be lit up by? These are just some examples of questions, but inviting them into their body, inviting them to get curious. And in this scenario, this isn't like a power dynamic situation where they're coming to you and looking up and being like, oh, tell me, you must have the answers and I don't. You guys are on an equal playing field and you're just kind of helping bring forth answers that they already have within them. Because sometimes that's really supportive. I mean, that is literally the role of a coach, is to guide, is to hold the space in a container to help invite forth the wisdom that already exists. And then the next one here, number 4, is, sometimes people are going to want advice. Sometimes people have thought about it. Sometimes people have gone through the motions, and let's say they do want advice. That's okay. But let it be their choice, and don't just always offer something up. So this is something that you get to shift within you to help support not only yourself, but others as well. If someone, let's say they text you and they're like, oh, I'm having relationship issues. Can I call you and talk to you about it? I don't know what to do. Sure, you can say yes. But it might be helpful at first to say, how do you want me to show up? Do you want me to just sit and listen, or just kind of be there for you? Or are you wanting me to listen and to give advice? it was actually so cool because the first time I recorded this episode was earlier this past week. And on Thursday, I went to the park with a friend and we walked around for a while, and she literally asked me this question. She was like, "You were sharing stuff earlier. I'm curious, like, did you want me to actually give advice or did you just want me to be there?" And so what a beautiful synchronicity that I was creating this episode and that she said that. And shout out, you know who you are if you're listening. You're amazing. So that's number 4, is we get to ask people how they want us to show up. And again, empower, give them choice. There are so many people who are walking around feeling like they are just choiceless, and it's really disempowering, and especially people who have experienced trauma where something just happened and it happened too quickly, too soon, it was unexpected. The power of offering choice goes a really, really long way. All right, so that brings us to number 5, and this is again this is another like mindset thing or approach that you can take to this, and really just take to anything in life. This truly has supported me so much, and that is to remember that everyone is on their own journey in life. Everyone is on their own journey in life. Everyone is having their own unique individual experience with their lives and with their creator. And so who are you to get in the way of this? Who are you to constantly step in and get in the way of it? You know, it's kind of a humbling experience. At one point I was like, who the fuck am I to keep trying to save everybody and everything? Like, I laugh because it's true. It's like, who are we to prevent someone from having an experience that, sure, maybe it might be really uncomfortable, but it's necessary in order for them to grow. I believe wholeheartedly this to be true, that we have to experience the darker periods. We have to experience the uncomfortable things. We have to contract in order to expand. So I just always come back to that. Like, who am I to withhold this from someone? Who am I to prevent someone the opportunity of experiencing that contraction so that they can expand? It's a really beautiful, humbling experience to get there. So those were our 5. Those are the 5 things you can do if you feel like you're trying to save everyone or fix everything or be there for every person, and you're noticing that it's actually not supportive to you. Consider these 5 things. Number 1, changing your approach, your mindset, just remembering that it might not always be as supportive in the long run to do the quick fix. Number 2, if you're someone who maybe feels guilty for not helping or not supporting, remembering a really beautiful action you could take is just to send them love with your energy, visualize them healing or succeeding or whatever it is, and using your energy for that, for good, versus really depleting your energy by trying to always run around and fix everything. Number 3, don't fall in the trap of worrying. Oh no, that was number 2, sorry. That was still number 2. Number 3, inviting them back into their power and inner wisdom. Number 4, offering choice. And number 5, remembering that everyone is on their own journey in life. All right, everyone, that concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening. But one more thing. Please head over to the show notes to read about all the ways that you can support this podcast. I do this for free out of the goodness of my heart, and just because it wants to be it's been pouring out of me for so long, and I'm so grateful to be doing it. And there are some free ways that you can support the podcast back. So if you've listened or if you've gained anything from it, I would be so grateful if you would go over the show notes, maybe choose one thing that really feels doable for you. Maybe that's giving a 5-star rating and review, which helps this show reach many more people. Maybe it's sending it to a few friends or family members. Maybe it's posting it on your social media. That would be so, so helpful, and I'd appreciate it so much. And remember that you can always reach out to me to say hi or to let me know if something resonated, or if you have an idea for an episode, please let me know. We are co-creating this together, and I am so grateful to be here with each and every one of you. Have an amazing, amazing day, week, and I am excited to see you on the next episode. Bye for now.